Hello everybody, and welcome back to another one of my classic Deltarune videos. This time we're going to do something a little bit different in that I'm going to be making a theory video, and based on my personal research, I think this is actually the only Deltarune theory video on YouTube. Now I wanted to talk about the biggest question that everyone has prior to the releases of chapters 3 and 4, which is, who's the knight? Now there are many different theories that people in the community have come up with, but I really wanted to focus on a singular one, which is the Death Knight theory. Now, I know that we have a lot of evidence towards a couple other theories, the main three that I'm thinking of being, number one, Kris Knight. We obviously see Kris open a fountain at the end of Chapter 2, and there is a great video by Spookydood defending the Kris Knight theory. We also have the classic multiple knights theory that's been posed by a lot of different people. I personally really like the video duology by cammyboiG on that. And then we always have the ever-classic Oberon Smog theory for all of the Jaru heads out there. We'd love to see it. There are dozens of us. If we know so little about Des, why do I think that she's the knight? Well, I recently finished playing through Mother 3, which is a game that I would recommend to any Deltarune fan. Obviously play it legally. But in that game, there's a character named Klaus, who is Lucas's older brother, Lucas being the protagonist of the game, and he shares a lot of similarities with Des. Within the unused code for chapters 1 and 2, there's a character which appears to be trapped in darkness that many, myself included, believe is Des. Now, a popular character, Des Holiday from Deltarune, actually has yet to show up in-game and is only really mentioned a couple of times within the first two chapters. The majority of information that we have on her actually comes from Swampton Sweepstakes 1 and 2, and a little bit from the newsletters, so there's not much that we know about her and not much that we can really concretely say about her personally. So what do we know about Des? The things that we know concretely are that she is Noelle's older sister, she's friends with Kris and with Asriel, and that one day when Noelle and Kris were younger, she disappeared and no one knows where she went. The gist of the theory is that Des fell into a dark world at some point, which is why no one in Hometown can find her. So what are the similarities? Well, in the prologue for Mother 3, Klaus disappears, whereas Des disappears prior to the events of Deltarune's Chapter 1 and 2. Both Des and Klaus are the older siblings to important characters in the story, being Lucas and Noelle. And finally, both characters are only subtly and occasionally referenced by other NPCs throughout the majority of the game. In Mother 3, there's a character known as the Masked Man, who shows up occasionally throughout the game to pull out the needles across Nowhere Islands, which allows whoever pulled out the majority to influence the Dark Dragon, which lives below, and reshape the world to their will. He attempts to push the Dark Dragon towards evil, while Lucas attempts to push it towards good. In Deltarune, we have the Roaring Knight, a character who shows up occasionally to create dark fountains. With one dark fountain, there's a balance between light and dark, but when more fountains erupt from the earth, the scale shifts darker, yet darker. In a documentary about the Mother series, Toby Fox is asked about the localization of Mother 3, and he says, "If it comes to the west, you can play it and see how unoriginal I am." Now, near the end of Mother 3, the Masked Man is revealed to be Klaus, Lucas's older brother, who was rebuilt and indoctrinated by Porky, the main villain of the game, to follow his will. In that same vein, I theorized that a dark entity, possibly the Handsman himself, influenced Des while she was trapped in a dark world. If we look at the themes of Deltarune, they seem to be pushing towards the idea of balancing escapism with real life. Now, I imagine that the Fun Gang representing that balance will clash with Des, who now believes that everyone would be happier in a fantasy world, probably near the end of the game. Even though she isn't the protagonist, throughout the first two chapters, Noelle is the only lightener to show doubts about the Dark World. And just like how Lucas represents the natural world and camaraderie is up against his brother representing industrialization and personal gain, I could see Noelle representing that balance between escapism and fantasy, standing up to her sister who only wants to live in fantasy. How and when this happens, I don't really have a guess, but I could see the ending of the game resolve after the Fun Game stops the roaring, with the epilogue changing based on your decisions throughout the game. That way, Toby Fox can be correct when he says in the Steam description of the game that there is only one ending, question mark, question mark, question mark. If you don't defeat the secret bosses in each chapter, I imagine there would be a neutral epilogue where the Fun Gang didn't do enough in the Dark Worlds to have a significant impact on their lives afterwards. So Kris, Susie, and Noelle would all regress to their pre-Chapter 1 characters. If you did defeat the secret bosses in each chapter, I imagine there would be a positive epilogue where Kris, Susie, and Noelle all enjoyed their time in the Dark Worlds, learned life lessons, and grew as people, while still maintaining the balance with real life. And if you instead go down the weird route, I imagine there would be a negative epilogue where the Fun Gang enjoyed the Dark Worlds more than real life, and were unable to move on with their futures after the Dark Worlds disappeared. Sweet, so that's my Death Knight theory. I hope that you enjoyed listening. And I'm pretty sure that I probably missed a lot, and that there are similarities with other Death Knight theories that other people have made, but I really wanted to get a theory out there before chapters 3 and 4 released. If you're an Undertale fan, which I assume that you are, check out my friend Dennis's video where he talks about playing Undertale for the first time with me, forgetting the majority of it, and then experiencing it again. And if you happen to also like Bloodborne, he made a short series with the highlights of his first playthrough that include me and some of our other friends commentating. And if you've stuck around this long, please comment, "Interesting video, but you're clearly ripping off Jaru."